So Isaac Okoro was drafted 5th overall to the Cleveland Cavaliers, which honestly came as a shock to me on draft night. Nobody had heard anything about him going to any of the teams in the top 5 really. Some thought he might even drop to the late lottery. But he went 5th to the Cavs, and let me tell you, did they make a good pick. Okoro is a very strong prospect defensively, him being 6'6", 225 pounds, and having a 6'8.5" wingspan. So he's got some decent size for an NBA wing, but that's not what makes him a special prospect to me. It's certainly part of it, but the main part of it for me is the high basketball IQ. He plays to his strengths, doesn't gamble on dumb steals or get lost on switches, some things you see in less disciplined rookies. He makes good rotations, is attentive off ball, has active feet, and is just all around a solid defender right from the jump. He'll only get better as he adjusts to the NBA and works as much as pros do. I think he has the potential to be an all-defensive level talent, and I don't think that's even a hot take. The question for him is the offensive end, and maybe you can question him guarding bigger threes. The offense is pretty questionable, and his college numbers were not promising. 28% from 3 and 67% from the line. Not exactly comforting. But we've talked about all this before. How did he look in his first NBA action? Obviously, these are just preseason games so far, and only 2 of them. But I've really liked what I've seen from Okoro so far. Defensively, he's been solid, he's been doing very well containing dribble penetration, and he's gotten a couple blocks and steals here and there. He doesn't quite seem like a rookie, although he hasn't been perfect obviously, but it's his first couple NBA games. I don't think anyone expected him to be. But the real surprise that I'm seeing from him is his offense. I don't think anyone expected him to be this good on offense, even if it is only a couple of preseason games. I think one of the biggest questions in terms of his offense was whether he'd even be willing to shoot. In college, you saw him pass up open looks and either passed off the ball or drove into too much coverage. He was playing to his strengths to a fault. In his first couple games, we haven't seen him be hesitant at all taking jump shots. In the 2 games, he's made 3 threes out of 5 attempts, which isn't a big sample size, no, at all. But these were even at least lightly contested, and that's not a shot you'd see him take at Auburn. He said in an interview after his first preseason game that his teammates have encouraged him to just shoot the ball when he's open, and that appears to be working. But he hasn't only been taking jump shots, he's been doing well driving to the rim too. One of his strengths at the draft was his ability to make shots at the rim through contact, and he did that several times. We even got an acrobatic and one over somebody. He did well attacking closeouts, and the fact that he can even demand closeouts is a good sign. Speaking of a good sign, let's talk about his free throws. In these 2 games, he's attempted 14 free throws, which is really promising. I mean, promising in the fact that he can get there. He made all 4 of them in his first game, but in the second game, he did manage to get 10 attempts, but he only made 6 of them. If he can get those free throw numbers up to a respectable percentage, that could be a legitimate part of his game. I mean, 75, 77, maybe we can get up to 80%. He can already finish through contact, as I've said. If he can add drawing fouls to that, he'll be a really good interior player, which should help the rest of his offensive game. I've also been surprised about his passing, which wasn't really a strong suit at Auburn, but he's been keeping his head up and making the right pass and finding open guys way more than I expected him to. He'll drive into the defense and then kick it out to an open shooter. I know that's basic stuff, but that was a question mark with him at the draft. Maybe he can expand upon that and be a pretty decent playmaker down the line. Can he be a guy who can average 4, 5, maybe even 6 assists? If all these things on offense can come around for him, I really think he'll be the second best player from this draft class, behind LaMelo Ball. He still has his moments where he'll drive into the defense and miss a contested layup. He still doesn't make the perfect decision every time. He obviously isn't a shooter still, even if he has shown promise in these games. But if these things can come around, which I don't see why they can't, I think he'll be the second best player from this draft. What's his ceiling? Top 25 player? Top 20? I mean, I doubt it, but if an all defensive level defense and decent to possibly above average offense is what he can be, I think that range is possible. I think he can be a top 25, top 30, maybe not an all-star, but a really, really good player. Maybe you can pick somebody who won't make a lot of all-star teams to be the second best player in a draft, but I really like what I've seen from Isaac Okoro so far. the Cavaliers have a pretty decent young core moving forward. I mean, Darius Garland has looked pretty good, Sexton is good, and now they have Isaac Okoro. So we'll just have to see where his career goes, but I think he can be a very, very, very good player. And I'm very excited to watch his career. But if you enjoyed the video, consider leaving a like and subscribing to the channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. If you didn't like it, leave a dislike. And y'all have a good one.